Hi, this is Baltimore GS from GSTwins.com. Today we're going to go over how to replace your fork seals if they start leaking. These are up in 1989 GS500e, but the procedure is the same for all the different years with a slight variation from 04 up. As you see here is one that's already been torn apart and you have all these various bits which you're soon going to learn where they go. Compared to a modern day sport bike, these forks are very simple. It's just kind of a messy job. To do this job, you'll need some basic hand tools and a couple special tools that we'll go over here. I'm going to be using air tools since I'm in a shop setting, but you can accomplish this job just the same with hand tools. This is a 1/2 inch impact gun. It's the same as a 1/2 inch ratchet. 3/8 inch impact gun, same as a 3/8 inch ratchet. This is a special tool I'm going to be using to set the work oil volume. You can do the same thing with a basic turkey baster. You're also going to need an 8mm Allen wrench or long Allen socket. This is one of the special tools that were made. This is just 5/8 inch all thread. It's 5/8 inch nuts. You'll be using this to remove the screw lid from the bottom of the fork. To hold that in place, I use a 24mm wrench. This is our tool to drive the fork seal. It's just a 1/2 inch PVC pipe that's been cut down to size. The only real parts you're going to need are your fork seals. If your dust seal's in bad shape, go ahead and replace them. On these forks, they're still in decent shape, so we're going to reuse them. You'll need some fork oil, and this is a messy job, so have some parts cleaner and lots of towels ready. On the right-hand fork, start by removing this 12mm bolt and this sleeve. Now remove the cap from the top with your 1/2 inch. Then drain out the nasty fork oil. The innards are going to start sliding out on you, which is fine. Once you're done draining the oil, you can remove the innards. Try to keep your parts in order so you know where they went. You're going to have to get a Suzuki special tool. This will not work. You're going to need your 8mm either Allen wrench or this I have a socket. Insert that in the bolt. Use your 24mm wrench to hold. And remove the bolt out of the bottom. Now watch, because some dirty oil's probably coming out. Make sure you don't lose this press washer here. This is what occupies your seal on the bottom. Now that the bolt's been removed from the piston, slide out the top. There's your piston and your damper rebound spring. Now we're going to remove the dust seal. Be careful with it if you plan on reusing it. Once the dust seal is removed, you can get the snap ring. Snap ring removed, you can now separate the inner tube from the outer. And here is your fork seal. Now that all the parts are removed, you can give them a thorough cleaning. I'm going to start by installing your seal back in the lower fork. I find it's easiest to use the piston and the tool to get it seated in there. Once that's installed, reinstall your inner fork tube, the sleeve, and the brackets. Let's put your damper spring on your piston and drop it down in. Then you're going to use your special service tool and reinstall your bolt. Don't forget the copper washer. And once you have the bolt started, tighten it down. Now the oil seals actually use a spring to keep tension against the slider. This is the old fork seal here, showing you the spring. If this spring comes out while you're installing, this fork seal will not work. To help make sure it stays in there while you drive the seal, take a little bit of grease and dab it around the edge, and that'll help ensure that spring does not pop out on you. Slide your new seal on. Be careful not to lose that spring. Then use your PVC pipe to drive it in. Once the seal is fully driven in, you'll be able to see the groove that the snap ring pops into. Once the snap ring is fully seated, install your dust cap. If your old snap ring's in poor shape, you can get a new Suzuki one, or you can go to an auto parts store and get a sufficiently sized one. Just make sure to grind the edges down so they're not going to rub against the inner tube. Now it's time to install our fork oil and set our air gap. I'm using Dexron automatic transmission fluid, which is a 10-weight oil. It's a good alternative if you don't have access to real fork oil, and actually was factory fill on old Hondas. You want to work the fork back and forth to get out any air pockets. Once you've worked all the air out of the spring, it's time to set the air gap. 91 millimeters is the air gap for stock springs, which we're using here. If you're using Sonic springs or other aftermarket springs, check with the manufacturer for the proper air gap. This has been marked off, so this is 91 millimeters. So set that against the fork and suck out excess fluid. The same task can be accomplished with a turkey baster, or this is a battery filler tool from Harbor Freight. Just mark off 91 millimeters and suck out excess fluid. Once your air gap's set, you're going to saw your spring and spacer. Now reinstall your cap. And since this is the right-hand fork, your last step is to reinstall your sleeve and bolt. Now that you got everything back together, give it a good cleaning and you're ready to install on the bike. Hopefully you found this tutorial helpful. If you need more information, go to gs twin.com.